Though we had again impeccable dresses, this is one of the episodes I like the least. It is just so full of clichés with this horse race and Emily's over-the-top outfit, and filled with too much plot lines. We have Aiden and Nolan search for Oscar Chapman, Emily testing Pascal and teasing Victoria, and on top her new target Gilliam. Of course her monologue was shallow too and merely a description of the meaning of the title and its implications. The only thing I enjoyed was the playful introduction with seeing Emily in Pascal's glasses and using that great hat to disguise her. This outfit really screams rich socialite in search of attention. And her red lipstick indicates that she is planning something. Sadly, they again make the mistake in giving us too much information and making her plan too complicated. Instead of enjoying her elegance like we did in the first takedowns of Season 1, this looks too constructed and lame at the same time. I know this is just a filler episode to prepare everything for the big showdown in the next one. But it could have been better if they had just not cramped it full with all those little story arches. They had plenty of time to finish Javier's betrayal of Nolan in the last couple of episodes. And as for the double targets, they just could have let Gilliam be and concentrate on Oscar Chapman. Especially since Pascal Emily's real target was involved. It is odd that she is not with Aiden and Nolan but pursuing this unworthy target that Victoria just created to test her. Very unpleasant that Emily fell for that act when she is so often boasting with the fact that she studied Victoria and her every move. Should Emily not be better in detecting when Victoria is bluffing? In that episode with the poker game she could tell. But now she suddenly cannot tell if this target was handed on a silver plate by Victoria. The only thing I like in this and the next episode is the idea of Javier's program and how it failed because of Nolan. This app sounds really cool and the perfect tool for marketing. And I like Margaux's European style with that little fascinator. She really looks more classy than Emily, which is obviously in disguise. 'Cause we know she can dress better. But Margaux's form-fitting blue dress and the little hat with the peacock feathers was just perfect. About Victoria's dress. This one I do not like either. But it is interesting that her dresses became more feminine and girlish with that wide skirts. Since Patrick and Pascal were around, looks like she is rediscovering her more female side. But I think this metallic look of the dress was fashion at the time. Must have been, of course, an expensive designer dress. However, it is not for me, as was this little scene. Her fight at the open with this guy was just too obvious. Especially with her declaring to Emily that she has much less boring people to talk to. So for me it is a riddle why Emily cannot see the obvious. Or did they make it that obvious so the audience gets it? I mean, why do they discuss this with plenty people around, and it is not in the same way obvious how Emily is following them? Maybe this was the most bad scene with her spying on one of her targets. She even does not record something or takes a picture, like she used to in Season 1, even though they showed us in the scene before her handbag was prepared for this. The only interesting thing on this target is how he makes money. I think it was the time when fracking and the pollution of water was a topic in the States. So they put together this plot behind Gilliam. Though they did not make a good job in tying his company to the David Clarke scandal. With this, Pascal's backstory is far better. Because the media surely had an interest in the David Clarke scandal. As they showed us in Season 1 with the journalist Mason Treadwell. However, I was happy we got the red Sharpie back. And this little scene with Aiden was a nice reminder of Emily's addiction. Too bad that since season 2 she lost her drive. 'Cause in the first season it had more meaning when she used it. About Jack and Margaux. Like I said, this was inevitable. The second Jack got involved in Emily's revengenda, I knew this relationship would go down. He just cannot let go of Emily. Even when he hated her and they fought so much in season 2 and the beginning of this season, Jack never left her side and kept her secret. And the difference between Emily and Margaux is clear if you compare the reaction of both women to Jack being back from his trip to LA. Margaux cannot even bother to listen to him for 5 minutes before she tells him her good news while he is still coping with his mother's backdrop. And one scene later, when he talks with Emily, she truly cares and asks about how his mother Stevie is feeling right now. His quote that he came to see someone who gets it tells us all. They both lost so much on the Graysons and still have to fight to survive, so they are the ones who truly understand each other. And therefore can comfort each other, too. By the way, I like Jack's improved fashion. It may be the influence of Margaux, but we see far better fitting pants and nice sweaters and cardigans on Jack. Especially this grey one and the V-necks he is wearing in later episodes and in season 3 look great on him. And after the first 2 seasons we have seen enough flannel shirts on him. About Nolan and Aiden finding Oscar Chapman. I like the unusual pairing here. Instead of Aiden, Jack is helping Emily with her target and Nolan is again working with Aiden. So this might be a new recipe for disaster after we saw them failing saving Padma in season 2. I loved the humor in this scene. Nolan is just so hilarious and Aiden with his grumpy mood even brings Nolan's excitement to 0 degree. I like Barry Sloane's intensity in this scene. Again, the lines are not that special but his performance make them shine. And I just adore his Britishness. I cannot say why, but he is the one of the main protagonist I admire the most. About Conrad telling Victoria the truth about Pascal. Another relationship that was doomed from the start. I knew Conrad would try to separate them. He cannot stand seeing Victoria happy with anyone else than him. And since Pascal seems determined to make it right this time, Conrad tells Victoria the one thing that has the potential to destroy their relationship. This bomb was really well placed since Conrad knows best how much Victoria truly loved David. What is interesting that Pascal makes the same thing as Victoria does. He denies his guilt and tells her he took part in covering the scandal behind the David Clarke trial out of love for her, to protect her. The same lie Victoria tells herself, that she stayed with Conrad out of love for her son Daniel. And now she is sealing Pascal's fate by making him go after Conrad. But I must admit, with this shoot of them and their little happy scenes in the episode before, they made me really root for Victoria and Pascal. About the scene with Luke, Gilliam, Emily and Jack. This was very predictable, especially after Jack begged Emily twice to become part of her revengenda. However, I like his performance and Emily's look in the scene. She really looks like one of these conservative Barbies from Fox Channel with that pink dress and the big golden earring. About Daniel and Margaux wooing Javier. This scene was hard to stomach. First of all because they were this fake friendly, like anyone who wants something big from you. And Javier was the typical next big thing who could pick the best offer with exactly that rude attitude I hate to see on people like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. And Charlotte looks like the perfect seduction with this red dress and the red lipstick. Again she is stealing Emily's favorite color. About Oscar Chapman's information. The only big reveal in this was that Pascal actually murdered Aiden's father. I cannot see why they needed this twist. And for me it was hard to understand why they showed us these flashbacks and all the trauma in the episode before. Only to let us know through this dude Aiden knows for 5 seconds that Aiden's father did not commit suicide but was killed. On top of it, that all Aiden believed about his father was untrue. Like Amanda's father David, he did not know what hit him and could not do anything about it to protect his family. Maybe they wanted to draw out more similarities between the story of Aiden's and Emily's father. Or they thought Pascal was not bad enough to be Emily's new big target. Anyway, after that strong episode with Emily and Aiden revisiting his traumatic childhood, these revelations were very lame. Especially since we have again no flashbacks that show us what happened. I do not understand. The writers must know it better, since the first rule is show not tell. Here they are again telling us what happened without showing anything special. And again, the only thing that makes this scene not a total waste of time are Barry Sloane's close-ups and Nolan's snarky comment.
It's no problem. I always found the use of both arms redundant.
About Pascal threatening Conrad. I knew this would not be without consequences. Till now everyone who threatened to expose Conrad's role in the David Clarke conspiracy turned out dead. First, that FBI agent who worked with Victoria in Season 1, then Formander who stumbled onto the evidence on Emily's laptop. Spoiler alert. And this season it is Pascal who has to take the fall. I enjoyed this little bluff, and as twisted as it sounds, the consequences Conrad took in the next episode. About Daniel and Victoria. This little scene was interesting because of 2 things. First, that Daniel even can say the name David Clarke. Looks like Harry Potter with he who must not be named. And second, because of Victoria being so sure to uncover Emily's biggest secret. They really made us looking forward to the final countdown. About Emily's takedown. This was only special because it was the first and only time that she trusted Jack with the takedown and did only watch. I like the reminiscence to Emily's target Michelle Banks in Season 2. With her we saw the same humiliating effect of a presentation going wrong. And I still love Emily's look for the takedown. That dress with the floral print looks very sexy but subtle with the cutout in the back. Again, I cannot get weary of these fighting scenes between Emily and Victoria. Those insults presented with a big smile are just too good. About Pascal shooting Oscar Chapman. I know this was meant to be shocking and we should be devastated about the death of Oscar Chapman, but since we got to know him only in this episode, it is hard to care. Even harder to bother that Pascal is actually killing himself instead of sending some thug like Conrad would have done. I still think it would have been better to see the last moments in the life of Aiden's father and having Pascal or someone he sent kill him. That flashback would have been of far better use than seeing Chapman die. And why should Pascal take such a risk while Conrad spies one very move of him and he wants to stay in the States with Victoria? We are talking about real murder and a physical dead body here. About the black hoodie being back. This one was a nice twist with Emily looking like a real eco-terrorist. And again, I like Emily's intensity cause these words I am sure she truly means. Still, she is full of hatred for those people who were involved in the David Clarke trial. About the war between Daniel and Nolan. Good to see this finally happening. Cause I was a bit disappointed that only Jack got his revenge on Daniel for shooting Emily. Nolan and Aiden must have been as much angry with him as Jack, since Aiden agreed to be reasonable for Emily's sake. Nolan was the only one who did not react to Daniel's fatal error. So I loved this little scene with Nolan declaring war on Daniel, though it was a bit theatrical tempering with the lights. I like Nolan's metaphor that Daniel is like a virus that infects everyone around him. And the twist that he only wants to protect his buddy Javier was so typical Nolan. He even cares about a guy he met in prison who screwed him over. About Conrad and Aiden. I absolutely love Conrad's role in these last episodes. Like Emily, he is the one who holds all the strings in his hands. He manipulates Victoria to confront Pascal in order to break them apart. And he makes Pascal clean up after Oscar Chapman without making his hands dirty. And now he tries to manipulate Aiden to rid him of his problem Pascal. About the return of the red sharpie. This is surely my favorite scene with the famous red sharpie. I just love how they make us aware of Victoria's discovery. Finally she sees what Emily is doing. The connections between Emily and the conspirators are very far from random. She is working on her list. And while Emily is using her famous red pen to cross out the newest victim, Victoria uncovers her secret with the same infamous photo, but fitting for the Black Queen with a black sharpie. Funny is how thrilled Pascal is by this discovery. While Victoria has her big monologue, he is just sleeping. Must have been a hard day for him since he had to kill Chapman and threaten Conrad in one day. And in the next episode it gets even harder for him.